get started and have everybody come in, and then we'll jump into today's programming. Hello. Hey, Luke. Hey. Good to see everybody. We're just going to give maybe a couple more seconds before we jump into the stream, and we will be off to the races with today's programming. In the meantime, if you want to shout out where you're from, where you're joining in from, we'd love to see it. Uh, Maybe if you have any questions, go ahead and we'll ask the questions in chat, and we'll add them to our Q&A. So when we get to the agenda, we'll answer them right at time. Welcome.
Anyone have snow where they are right now?
Not yet. I mean, I did, and there is definitely more to come.
Yeah, I'm
What's
not
your
looking
what's your
forward to
lowest low
it.
this week, Zach?
The lowest low, it got single digits. Um, I think like 4 or 5 degree with wind chill, and people stayed outside to go watch a football game while that was all going on. So,
Well, not
um,
a football game, a playoff game.
a playoff game. Yeah. Oh yeah, Luke
yeah,
can correct me. 0 degrees.
yeah, we're gonna get down to 8 degrees on Sunday. Um,
Woo.
Bundle up. All right. Maybe give it one more minute, and then we will jump in for all of the lovely people who have joined us. Thank you so much. We have some really exciting stuff today. I'm very excited. We've got 3 demos from the team. Some stuff uh, that you've never seen before, which I'm very excited about. And I think it will be pretty fun to show off. Hello, Shanad. Hello, Louise. Hello, Hitchendra Singh. It's good to see you guys. All right, it is 2:03. Let's jump into it. I am going to jump into our slides. Welcome to our January Developer Office Hours. We're excited to be back for our 3rd month, and we will continue this series as we keep bringing more developer content and more developer updates for y'all. So we are the developer relations team. Here we have Virat, myself, Vic, Zach, and Ray. And we make up the developer relations team at Webflow. So all of the developer products, we're working on them, we use them, we write the documentation for them, examples, and any questions that y'all have about implementations, how to use them, we are here to help. You can find us here every month. You can find us on Twitter and LinkedIn, in the Discord, and in Reddit. And we are going to jump into our programming today. We'll do a quick recap of what we shared before the new year. Happy New Year, everyone. And then we'll jump into what we'll cover today, and I'll hand it off to the team. So last month, which seems just the other day ago, we chatted about some new features from the MCP. So Get Element Snapshot was GA'd. So you could take elements, or you could get snapshots of what an element looked like from the MCP, which helped with troubleshooting when you're creating uh, elements in the designer using the MCP to see, hey, did this come out right? We also launched the beta for the MCP server. So we made some updates for stability, speed, and with some new tool calls, consolidating tools. And you'll hear more about that today, as well as we added code component updates for decorators and prop type aliases. So you can now declare a global decorator, so you don't have to add styles to every single code component. If you want to learn more about that, our office hours are all on our YouTube, as well as our documentation is on developers.webflow.com. And we highlighted the FinSuite extension app, which was really, really cool. I know you guys got a lot of really fun use out of that and had a lot of questions. Alex came on the stream last time. Go check that out, or go start using the FinSuite extension and share your feedback about what you like. Eddie, really glad to see that you're just getting into Webflow. This is our developer office hours. So if you're used to working with code and you want to see how code works with Webflow, this is the place for you. Otherwise, you can kind of see what developer options are there and share with teams that do use code. So we gave our welcome. We had some API updates. I will pass it on off to, oh, before I do that, we'll do a really quick recap of our developer platform. This is helpful for anyone new coming to Webflow. So Webflow has the designer where you can jump in and start designing your sites. But we also have some extensibility options for developers who might want to use different parts or hook it up to Webflow. So we originally had our APIs, which you can use to manage the CMS, manage assets, add custom code, as well as our designer APIs, which you can use with Webflow apps. We also have code components, which you can build React components and then import them into Webflow. And we have Webflow Cloud to host full stack applications using Next.js and using Astro. Which is really, really cool. Astro just got acquired by Cloudflare, which is cool to see. So if you have any interest in that, let us know. We also have the Webflow CLI, which you can use to create apps. You can use it to deploy your Webflow Cloud uh, programs and applications. And you can also use it to use DevLink to export your design system to a full stack application. And these all things work together to bring a lot of full stack functionality to your site and to your Webflow domain. And also, as always, you can host external code. So if you have custom code, custom scripts, you can host those on Webflow. And we have our MCP server, which we're going to talk about today and is really exciting, where you can use AI to manage content, manage designs on your site. So this is a quick and dirty of our developer platform. If you have any questions about any of these things, let us know. We will chat about them in depth. Now I will pass it off to Virat to talk about our MCP server updates.
Awesome. Thank you, Vic. So, as you all know, it's been a while we have released MCP server, and what MCP server does, folks, those are new. With Webflow MCP server, instead of asking your AI how you can do this on Webflow, you can let your AI do things on the Webflow projects. So, instead of like asking, okay, suggest me improvements on a page or write help me to write content, you can ask AI to use Webflow MCP tools and then do all the layout changes or writing those contents for you. So along those lines, we have very much exciting update for you all guys, which is Claude skills. Next slide, please. Awesome. So those who doesn't know code skills and those who already use Claude skills are basically reusable prompts or workflows that are packaged as skills. So instead of you asking an AI to do certain things step by step, you can just write in a uh, natural form that, hey, do asset audit for me, or do a site audit for me. And instead of explaining, okay, pull my sites, list all the sites, and then get this site and get all the pages, get all the CMS, and explaining or writing long prompt, you can just write one line, and Claude Code will automatically going to pick up these skills and going to help you with your workflow. So for this, like, we have bunch of useful skills that I'm going to show you in a minute, but this is going to help you to fill those context gap. You don't need to write a longer prompt and fill all those context gap. And Cloud Code will going to figure out what are the next step using those code skills. So let me share my screen and show you those guys. I hope my screen is visible. And To get started, you can visit developers.webflow.com, head over to MCP section, and from here, you can get started with Claude skills. And for now, we have few available skills in a particular category: content management, site health and optimization, and publishing and managing code. And inside each and every category, we have bunch of skills like bulk update CMS, best practices for the CMS collections. Of course, for the site health, we have site audits, asset audits, set up alt text automatically, publishing safe publish, which is going to QA your site before QA in the sense it's going to figure out how many pages are missing the SEO, which is SEO metadata, title, description, OG tags, and those are things. And similarly, how to manage custom codes. So we have exciting skills ready for you. And to get started, we have a very simple step. You need to add this marketplace to your cloud code. So I have terminal open. Let me exit out this one, and I'm going to add, let me also increase the font size. I'm going to add this marketplace using Claude plugin marketplace at webflow dash skills.
And I just wanted to point out, Virat, you need to install Claude Code on your terminal before you can start using these skills, right?
Yes. So to get started, you can head over to claude.com, and from there, or code.claude.com, and you can download code Claude. Uh, it, it does require Claude subscription if you want to get a larger context. In my case, I already have a marketplace installed. That's why it's having installed. Let's um, also install the plugin. This is a skill plugin and it's installed. The other way is like you can clone this repo, and we have this repo in public, so you can go ahead and visit GitHub. If you're wondering how all the skills and the agents work, you can visit this repo, and if you have new skills to contribute, you can of course create a PR, and we can happy to look into and approve those PR. uh, let's get back to our thing. So now, since we have skills installed, we can verify by entering to Claude. Let me also clear the, and I can see skills, and I see 9 skills are installed for the Webflow ones, and you can also see how many tokens those skills are using. Now let's do a quick demo. I have a bunch of assets on my Webflow project, and most of the projects, most of the assets in these projects are not using any alt tags, right? So instead of me explaining how to use Webflow tools, how to fetch all the assets, and what I really want, I can just say that, hey, uh, on Webflow, on MCP demo h2 do a asset audit, and in a second it's going to pick the relevant skill and going to start using those things. So very first thing it did, it pulled my site to understand, and now it's asking to use the Webflow skill, which is asset audit. I'm going to allow it, and now the skill is going to instruct our LLM what are the next steps. So very first thing is using the asset tool, uh, and it's going to fetch all the assets. And there we go. We have a nice and concise report over here. We can see there are 3 assets which are missing alt text. One has the alt text which is indent on this one, and I can it asking like, what do you want to do next? Do you want to set alt text? You want to say SEO friendly names to all the things, or you want both? And I can say that, hey, choose option three. And now it's going to use get image preview tool to understand the actual context of an image. So it's not blindly preparing alt text for it.
So you're saying the MC or the MCP server, is it using the MCP server on top of the skills?
That's correct. The skills are
Awesome.
working it together with MCP server. So these are the actually MCP server tools. Yes, you can see these are the MCP tools. It's actually getting an image preview. So LLM which support vision capabilities can understand those image vectors. So it pull all these three image. It's now suggesting this should be the name and alt text for it. And I said do it for all. And the one good part of all the skills that we have did, it do provide you the options in a multiple way what user might want to do next. So you don't need to explain this other. Now use there's a tool to set the names. It's going to figure it out and it's going to start creating those things. So it set alt text for the first image, and as we said, developer wearing glasses working on a laptop with a Webflow Lego logo in modern office setting. And there we go, like it updated alt text for all three. And now going back to the Claude skills, do explore Claude skills. We have multiple skills can be useful for the CMS, site health, and also pollution code. Those who are not using Claude code, we got you covered because we have a prompt library which does exact same thing, but with any AI tools. So for example, we have a link auditor and fixer. You can copy this prompt to any AI tool which you should have Webflow MCP enable and install, and it should do the similar task. Yeah, so let me stop sharing my screen.
Amazing. So this is really great for Claude Code users, but we also always have options if you're using uh, different tools or different models. You're able to either just paste in a prompt or kind of use the skills as a shortcut if you are using Claude Code. So as other tools get this, we will be sure to optimize so that we can uh, use as many shortcuts as possible. But the goal here is you can get started as quickly as possible. You don't need to jump into the MCP and explore all the different tools to create your own prompt or own skill. You can just use some of the pre-provided ones. And as you get more incorporated or acclimated to the MCP, you can start creating your own skills for your own needs. But this is just getting started and ideas. We would love to know what other skills you would like to see. So jump in the chat and let us know because we're always looking for new skills to add or new use cases the MCP might be really good for.
Awesome. Next
Awesome.
slide,
Thank
please.
you, Virat. Do you want to jump into some updates?
Oh, yes. So, as we know on the previous month, we have some beta tools which are element screenshot, comment tools, enterprise tools. Those are on under the beta version. Now those are GA, so anyone can now use all the tools, which is elements screenshot tool, which is I guess amazing because now AI can actually take a screenshot of a certain section or element on your page and can visually see. So we have one preview where I'm asking that can you pull this section, and it has an accessibility issue where the font are not in contrast with the background. So it can actually get the context and can understand how the element looks and feel. So very helpful for the UX and UI stuff. For comment tools, you can also ask to fetch comments and automate your workflow. For example, if you are commenting on a page, change the button to red, and you can ask AI, pull my comments and automate those tasks. You can of course do, and those who are with enterprise workspace can access also these three new tools, which is you can manage 301 redirects, robot.txt, and well-known files. Can do much more than that. Of course, we are reducing all the tools, so instead of 48 tools, now you only have 19 tools in total. But it doesn't mean it's have less capabilities. Now it has even more, because each and every tools are now categorized and can perform multiple things. So instead of your AI making step by step or making multiple tool calls to fetch multiple items, one tool can fetch multiple CMS items, or it can fetch multiple page details just with one tool call. And we have a new endpoints. And if you are going to the document, you can read more about what this new endpoint does. But in a very simple term, we are deprecating slash ssc, which is server side events, which is slower. But now we have a new endpoints called slash mcp, which is you can instead of using mcp.webflow.com slash sse, you can now use mcp.webflow.com slash mcp. uh, do make those changes. It's going to feel much faster in terms of tool execution and the connectivity, and you will feel less dropout on your mcp connections. And of course, now cms item you can create across locals in one tool call. Awesome. So I guess that's wrap up the MCP update, and we are making new updates to our MCP. So if you want to get those new access on the MCP early, join our MCP beta, and scan this QR code. So we're going to send you invite, and from there you can jump in and get access to our MCP beta tools. Awesome. I will pass over to Zach.
Thanks, Virat.
Awesome.
Zach, do you want to jump into some API updates?
Yeah, I think let's go ahead with the next slide. Oh, Ray might actually be taking this one. Ray, you want to kick us off?
Absolutely. All right. So, hey, everybody. I am really excited to show y'all a short preview of the Headless API. Today, I'm going to quickly explain what we're trying to solve for, introduce and show you the page client, and then we'll demo what this unlocks for developers and agents. Next slide, please. Thank you. All right, so just to get some background about why this is useful, here are some real pain points we've heard from developers about managing site content today. So agencies, they want to help clients manage their Webflow site without the clients actually being in Webflow. So today, agencies lack the extensibility service to make changes on behalf of client sites from their own custom tooling. They need a designer extension to make programmatic changes, or just get into Webflow to make the change themselves. We have the MCP server, one of the most common workflows utilizing the Webflow MCP server is making on-canvas updates to the Webflow site, whether it's importing and managing a design system or managing and fleshing out full page designs. Now, this currently requires a bridge app, a designer extension, and a user to have the canvas open so the bridge app can call the designer APIs and make updates. So while many users have success with this agentic flow, it can be slow and oftentimes needs users to refocus on the Canvas tab while the agent makes changes via the MCP server. App developers Today, app developers harness the full capabilities of Designer and Data APIs by creating hybrid apps, where the app can tap into the backend data of a site on their own platform, but must redirect users to Webflow to open a Designer extension and make on-canvas changes to the designs, even for small non-visual updates, such as adding custom attributes to certain elements. So while this works, the UX can be quite jarring, having users jump from one platform to another to make simple changes to their site. And app developers need a flow where users can stay on one platform and be able to control both the backend and the design of a Webflow site. So, like I mentioned, there's various types of users who need to make Webflow design changes for various reasons and for various customers. But regardless of how these developers do it, it all boils down to this current workflow. Some server-side app or AI tool tells users to open the Webflow canvas. The user has to open up some kind of designer extension so it can programmatically manage site design resources via designer APIs. And then the user has to actively wait for the extension to make its necessary changes. This could be long or short, depending on the type of operation. But with bulk editing of resources, it could be a timely operation that is prone to errors. While this workflow works for many users today, the experience can be jarring, lengthy for both app developers and the end customers. So let's talk about how the headless designer APIs will enable tools and applications to drastically improve this flow. So when building a set of headless designer APIs that match our current set of designer APIs, these headless APIs can be called via a server-side Node.js SDK called Page Client, so that server-side scripts and applications can manage site designs. Think of it like a global Webflow object used to interact with designer APIs and designer extensions, but for your Node.js applications. The server-side application or AI tool could instantiate a page client SDK connected to the Webflow site programmatically and use those familiar designer APIs to manipulate site design on behalf of a user who authorized the app to work with the Webflow site. This eliminates the rush for users to open Webflow in a browser, open a designer extension app, and patiently wait for changes to be made. As you know, some people are not terribly patient. That happens. In fact, we've seen designer API performance drastically improve since operations are made locally and then committed all at once to Webflow via a commit API on the page client. What used to take minutes to bulk scaffold a page layout and design system could take up just a few seconds to complete. The best part is you can spin up multiple page clients to work in parallel and bulk manage multiple Webflow pages on a site. So just to give you just a real quick example of what the code looks like, and obviously this is a snippet, your application will be somewhat larger, but all I am doing here is creating an instance of the page client SDK and giving it my authentication information, including the site I'm working on and the particular page that I'm working on. Once I have that, I can then do those designer APIs all within my Node.js code. So you can see here, I am looking for the body. I'm going to add a button, set the text on that. And then the important bit is the commit and the disconnect to end the process there. And again, typically, you'd be doing a lot more. You'd possibly be doing something dynamic, not hard-coded text on that button, but that gives you the idea of the kind of scope of code that you can write with this new SDK. Next slide. All right, so basic timeline. Right now, the headless APIs and page client SDK are still under active development and testing. We're focusing on ensuring the developer experience meets user needs and committed to a solid, useful release for developers. Additionally, at this time, we're focusing our efforts on headless designer APIs being used via a Node.js-based page client SDK. Other avenues of invoking these APIs, RESTful, other languages, etc., will be considered in the future. We'll also continue sharing more progress about the headless APIs over future office hours, so stay tuned. If you want to get involved, if you want to learn more, just drop us a line at developers@webflow.com and let us know what you're thinking. All right, I had the easy part, so now I get to hand it over to Zach to actually show this in action.
Awesome. Thanks, Ray, for the setup there. Let me go ahead and share my whole screen. All right. So Ray showed a bit of how you kind of set up this page client, this server-side SDK to help manage the designs in the front end of your Webflow site using familiar designer APIs. So what I'm going to walk through here in a quick demo is something that I used Cursor to vibe code with, gave it context of the designer API's doc site, which you can easily do with llms.txt endpoints on our dev docs. And once it has context of the designer APIs alongside a short example of how to instantiate a page client, it's a relatively new technology and not documented. It was able to run with it pretty quickly on a very basic prompt. So really what I'm about to show here is scaffolding a blank new site with 3 pages um, in a pretty simple design, maybe not the most optimal, but at least kind of gets me going in building my Webflow site and showing how fast this really works. And so just to kind of preface and show what this Webflow site looks like right now, I've got 3 pages like I mentioned here. And I've got the homepage, the features page, and the contact page. Each one is completely blank, no components or styles set up here. Um, and what I've got on the left side here is the code that Cursor helped me write to basically scaffold a whole new site based on some made up SaaS company that I just typed in the prompt. But it was a really short prompt, and as we continue to share more publicly about the page client, we'll continue to share more resources about how to use this. And so, yeah, I'm going to go over this code just a little bit. So this Webflow client TypeScript file is essentially setting up 3 different page client instances all at the same time. These page clients work very specifically with a site and a page. So that's why I'm spinning up multiple instances, which you can do in your server-side applications. Again, I'm feeding it a Webflow token, which I won't show for now, but I'm using a site token in this case. Um, Alongside this page client, there's a new scope we add to the permissions called page client. So if your data client app, your hybrid app, or your custom workflows are thinking about using page client in the future, it would be a new OAuth scope or a new scope when creating your site token to allow it to essentially make these design changes on behalf of the user from a server side. Great. So once I've created my 3 page clients in parallel, essentially what I'm going to do is connect them to the actual pages. So connecting to the Webflow site. Once that's done, I've got some separate scripts that I'll kind of briefly show that build the home page, the feature page, and the contact page, giving them each the page client SDK to kind of work with. So again, Ray mentioned that it's kind of like using the global Webflow object in designer extensions. Very similar. Treat this page client SDK as kind of that global Webflow object, but for your server-side applications. Um, and what I had Cursor do is just kind of log the time it takes to actually run this. So just to kind of give a brief look at how the SDK is used. This API is the page client API, and you'll notice here if you've worked with designer extensions in the past, the SDK semantics are pretty or the API semantics are pretty similar. You're just using it from a different object here, and it's all coming from the server side. In this case, what the script or the series of scripts are doing is it's grabbing all the elements on the page, which currently there are none, starting from the body element and beginning to append elements, add styles as it goes on, right? And so here, yeah, you'll recognize certain um, um, familiar APIs from the designer API side. Again, because the cursor had the context of the designer API docs, I really didn't need to do much here, but you can always refine like how it's building some of these. Cool. And so, yeah, that's pretty much the gist for all of these 3 different page TypeScript files is just scaffolding these designs. And once it's done, let me scroll to the bottom here. After it creates all the nav bar, the hero section, and all that good stuff, it's going to call that .commit API that Ray showed off, which is essentially bulk propagating those changes to my Webflow site, the Webflow instance that I connected to. And then I'm going to disconnect the page client just to kind of tidy things up, make sure that the page client doesn't make any additional changes I don't want it to. So just some semantics there, very similar to like V1 designer APIs, if you are familiar with that. But yeah, let's just give it a go, and hopefully the demo gods are with me, and let's this run. And I think it is npm run page client. Yeah. So for this particular project, I'm just starting off, and it's going to use the Node API to start off with this Webflow client TypeScript file, and also just to kind of show that I don't have to be on Webflow to make these changes. Just going to go to my dashboard. All right. Now, if I run npm run page client, you should see in the console it's making all the pages, all the sections, and one really exciting point I want to highlight here that the console just surfaced is that it was able to scaffold 3 pages, all the designs and styles and all of that good stuff in 1.8 seconds. If you've worked with the MCP server that connects to the designer or any other, designer extension app that's trying to do a ton of edits to multiple pages, it doesn't really take 1.8 seconds. It could probably take a whole minute, or it could take several seconds, and it makes you actively engage with the designer or the end user, right? And so if I go ahead and go to this demo site, let's just make sure that it brought in all the designs. Amazing. So again, this was a completely blank page scaffolded in Webflow, and all I did was give it the page IDs. And if I just go through some of these pages, you can kind of see it started scaffolding other designs. May not be the most optimal, of course. This happens to be a div block. You might want to ensure that it's using native Webflow elements, but that's something easily I could include in the prompt. But yeah, I think the point I want to drive home is using agentic tooling to use this new surface area of headless designer APIs to help manage Webflow sites without the end user actually having to be on Webflow, which unlocks a huge amount of capabilities, especially for those 3 personas that Ray talked about. So really excited to continue testing, continue developing, and making sure that this new tool really meets the needs of developers like yourselves watching. But if you're interested in learning more or trying it out, reach us at developers@webflow.com, like Ray shared, and let us know your use cases of something that you'd like to use this tool with. Hopefully, this was insightful